People say the worst betrayals come from those closest to you. But what they don't tell you is how the smallest things can shatter your entire world. For me, it wasn't a lipstick stain or a suspicious text message. It was just a forgotten bag. I remember that evening perfectly, October 12th, just another Tuesday. Kate and I had been married for 19 years, and I thought I knew every detail of our life together. The dinner parties we hosted every month, the way she always kissed me goodbye in the morning, her habit of forgetting things in the car. Little things that made up our routine, our perfectly ordinary life. I'm an engineer by trade, which means I notice details. The slight misalignment of a blueprint, a calculation that's off by a decimal point. But somehow I missed the signs, or maybe I chose not to see them. That's what happens when you trust someone completely. You stop looking for cracks in the foundation. Kate works in advertising, and she's good at it, creating perfect images, selling dreams, making people believe what she wants them to believe. I used to admire that about her. Now I wonder how long I've been just another target audience. That evening, I was heading back to the car to grab my jacket. The autumn air had turned chilly, and I had a dinner meeting with clients. Our silver Audi sat in the driveway, catching the last rays of sunlight. Everything looked normal, perfect even, the way our life was supposed to be. I opened the passenger door, and there it was, her cream-colored Michael Kors bag, the one I'd given her for Christmas. Kate never forgot her bags. They were like extensions of her arms, always clutched close. Except this time. I stood there, key fob still in hand, staring at it. Something felt off, like that moment in movies just before everything goes wrong, when the music changes and the audience knows something the hero doesn't. Except I was living it, and there was no dramatic soundtrack to warn me. I should have just grabbed my jacket and left, should have texted her about the forgotten bag, should have maintained the perfect illusion of our perfect life for just a little longer. Instead, I reached for the bag. That's the thing about life-changing moments. They don't announce themselves. They slip in through the back door of your ordinary day, wearing casual clothes and carrying designer handbags. And just like that, standing in my own driveway on a Tuesday evening, I was about to discover that sometimes the heaviest things we carry aren't bags at all. They're truths we never wanted to find. You know that feeling when your brain tries to protect you? When it says, "Don't look, just walk away"? I felt it as I picked up her bag, its leather still warm from sitting in the late afternoon sun. The weight felt wrong somehow, heavier with secrets than it should have been. My hands were steady as I opened it. Funny how calm you can be when your world is about to explode. Inside was the usual chaos of Kate's life. Lipsticks, receipts, her planner with its color-coded tabs. Everything perfectly normal until it wasn't. The hotel receipt was folded neatly, tucked into the side pocket where she keeps her parking tickets. The Grand Plaza Hotel, one of those upscale places downtown where business deals get made over $100 steaks, 2 glasses of champagne, 2 desserts, a room charge, all dated last Thursday, when she was supposedly at a client dinner in a different part of town. My throat went dry. I kept digging, my engineer's mind already cataloging, analyzing, building a blueprint of betrayal. The key card was next, identical to the ones I've used on countless business trips. Room 842, the number burned into my brain like a brand. Then came the small box, wrapped in silver paper with a delicate bow. The kind of wrapping they do at those high-end boutiques Kate loves. I didn't open it, didn't need to. The receipt was still attached to the bottom, a men's Cartier bracelet. We'd been married 19 years, and I'd never received a Cartier bracelet. I sat there in the car, surrounded by the evidence of a life I thought I knew, while the sun set and the shadows grew longer. In movies, this is where the character explodes in rage, throws things, screams. But all I felt was a cold, calculating clarity. I carefully replaced everything exactly as I'd found it, took photos with my phone, made mental notes of dates and times. Then I closed the bag and set it back on the seat, arranging it to look untouched. I had my jacket in my hands, the whole reason I'd come out here in the first place. Such a simple thing, such an ordinary moment. But as I locked the car and walked back toward the house, I wasn't the same man who'd come out 5 minutes ago. That man had been living in a dream. This one was wide awake and planning. I walked into our house, our perfect, mortgage-nearly paid-off house, and heard Kate humming in the kitchen. She was making chicken parmesan, the smell of garlic and tomatoes filling the air. 19 years of marriage, and she still couldn't get the sauce quite right, always too much oregano. "Hey, honey, found your jacket." Her voice was light, normal, the voice of a woman who hadn't left evidence of her affair in our car. "Yeah," I managed, hanging it by the door. "Got everything I need?" She appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Same Kate as always. Subtle makeup, hair falling just right, that little smile that used to make my heart skip. Now all I could see was the lie behind it. "You okay?" she asked. "You look a little pale." I forced a smile. "Just tired. Big presentation tomorrow." She nodded sympathetically and went back to her cooking. I watched her move around the kitchen, cataloging every detail with new eyes. The way she checked her phone more than necessary. How she'd been working late more often. The new clothes. The extra care with her appearance. All the signs I'd ignored, thinking I was lucky to have a wife who still made an effort. My phone felt heavy in my pocket, loaded with pictures of evidence. Part of me wanted to slam it on the counter, watch her face as she realized she'd been caught. But 19 years of engineering had taught me something. The best solutions come from careful planning, not emotional reactions. I sat at our kitchen island pretending to check emails while my mind raced. Room 842, last Thursday the Grand Plaza Hotel, each detail a piece of a puzzle I never wanted to solve. But now that I'd started, I couldn't stop. "Want to taste the sauce?" she asked, holding out a spoon. I looked at her hand, the wedding ring I'd worked overtime for 3 months to buy, glinting under the kitchen lights. The same hand that had probably handed over her credit card at the hotel, signed for champagne and dessert for 2. "No thanks," I said. "I trust your judgment." The irony almost made me laugh. Almost. Instead, I pulled out my laptop and opened a new document. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. Methodical. Precise. Like any other engineering project, but with one key difference. This time, the end product wouldn't be a building or a bridge. It would be justice. That night, I lay awake listening to Kate's steady breathing beside me. The same bed we'd picked out together at Macy's 5 years ago, arguing over firm versus plush until we'd found the perfect compromise. Now it felt like lying on broken glass. I waited until 2 a.m., then slipped out to my home office with her phone. She never changed her passcode, my birthday of all things. The irony would have hurt if I wasn't so focused on the task at hand. Her message history was a master class in deception. Deleted conversations with Rob G, showing up in the search, but nothing in the actual messages. Email notifications from a second account I'd never known about. Calendar entries marked client meeting that matched the hotel dates perfectly. Rob G. Rob Grayson, owner of that new chain of upscale fitness clubs. The pieces clicked into place. Her sudden interest in fitness, those new workout clothes, the networking events at his clubs. I'd even met him once at a charity gala, shaken his hand while he smiled and called me brother. I put her phone back exactly as I'd found it and returned to my laptop. A few quick searches told me everything I needed to know about the Grand Plaza Hotel, their restaurant, their booking system, their security protocols, each detail a weapon waiting to be used. But a quick kill wasn't what I wanted. No, this needed to be something special, something that would strip away not just her marriage, but her carefully constructed image, the reputation she'd built, the respect she'd earned. I opened our shared calendar and started planning. Our anniversary dinner was coming up in 3 weeks. Friends and family would be there, the same people who'd attended our wedding, who'd watched us exchange vows, who thought we were the perfect couple, the perfect audience. I reached for my phone and dialed the hotel's number. "Good evening," I said, keeping my voice professional, controlled. "I'm calling about room 842. I believe my wife left something there last Thursday." The night clerk was helpful, sympathetic. Yes, they had record of Mrs. Bennett's stay. Yes, it was a regular booking. Would I like to know the dates of her next reservation? I smiled in the darkness of my office. Some people say, revenge is best served cold, but I was starting to think it was best served in front of witnesses, with undeniable proof and nowhere to hide. I checked the time, 3:17 a.m. In a few hours, Kate would wake up, kiss me goodbye, and head to work, thinking her secrets were safe, thinking she was still in control. She had no idea what was coming. The next few days became a master class in deception, not hers, mine. I learned to smile over breakfast while tracing credit card statements, to kiss her goodbye while recording times and dates, to say, "I love you," while building a case that would destroy her. I started with the hotel. It's amazing what people will tell you when you sound concerned enough. "I'm worried about my wife's safety," I told the day manager. "She's been acting strange, and I found some hotel receipts." The manager's sympathy was immediate. Yes, Mrs. Bennett was a regular guest, always the same room, always the same day of the week, always with the same male companion. "Such a nice gentleman," the manager added. "Mr. Grayson always tips well." I thanked her and hung up, my hand steady, as I added the information to my growing file. Rob Grayson, the fitness club king. I'd done my research on him too. 3 clubs in the city, 2 more under construction, a recent divorce, a reputation for networking with his female clients. The evidence mounted day by day, credit card charges at restaurants I'd never heard of, gas station receipts from parts of town she had no reason to visit, a secret email account, KBENNETTDOTPERSONALATGMAILDOTCOM, that she accessed only from her phone. I found it in her browser history during one of my late-night investigations. But the real goldmine was her fitness club app. She'd forgotten to log out on our shared iPad. There they were, dozens of private training sessions with RG, always in the executive gym, always during her supposed client meetings. The same dates as the hotel visits, the same patterns of lies. I took screenshots, saved emails, photographed receipts, each piece of evidence carefully documented and backed up to a secure cloud account. The engineer in me appreciated the symmetry of it all, input, output, cause, and effect. The husband in me felt like I was dying by inches. "You seem distracted lately," Kate said one evening, rubbing my shoulders as I sat at my desk. "Everything okay at work?" I leaned back into her touch, wondering if she gave Rob the same concerned attention. "Just a big project," I said. "Everything has to be perfect." "You're too much of a perfectionist," she laughed. "Sometimes you need to let things go." I caught her hand and squeezed it, feeling her wedding ring press against my fingers. "Some things are worth doing right," I replied, "no matter how long they take." She kissed the top of my head and went to bed, leaving me alone with my laptop and my plans. On the screen, a new email from the hotel manager glowed. Security footage from the past month, courtesy of a generous tip to the IT department. 6 separate videos of Kate and Rob entering the hotel together, time-stamped and dated. I pressed play on the first video, watched my wife walk through the lobby, laughing at something Rob was saying, saw her lean into him as they waited for the elevator, comfortable, intimate. The timestamp matched a day she'd told me she was meeting her biggest client. The videos kept playing, each one a nail in the coffin of my marriage. But I wasn't burying us just yet. No, I was building something much more elaborate, a trap that would spring when she least expected it, in front of everyone who mattered. Our anniversary dinner was in 2 weeks. The invitations had already gone out, family, friends, colleagues. "Help us celebrate 19 years of perfect love," Kate had written. I smiled at the irony as I added the latest evidence to my file. Perfect love indeed. Perfect lies. Perfect setup for what was coming. They say there are 5 stages of grief. What they don't tell you is that they all hit at once when you're planning revenge. I'd find myself raging one minute, bargaining the next, then sinking into depression while staring at old photos on my phone. But I never reached acceptance. Acceptance wasn't part of my plan. The worst moments were the normal ones. Sunday morning pancakes when Kate would dance around the kitchen in her pajamas. Movie nights when she'd curl up against me on the couch. Each tender moment was now poisoned with knowledge. Was she thinking of him? Was she comparing us? Did she feel anything real anymore? Or was she just that good at pretending? I threw myself into the planning instead. Every detail had to be perfect. I booked the private room at Giovanni's for our anniversary dinner, Kate's favorite restaurant, where we'd had our first date. Called every guest personally to confirm. "It's going to be a night to remember," I told them. If they noticed anything odd in my voice, they didn't mention it. The guest list was crucial. Her parents, who'd always treated me like a son. My sister Rachel, who thought Kate hung the moon. Our closest friends, including Tom and Sarah, who'd introduced us all those years ago, the same people who'd witnessed our wedding vows. The perfect audience for the unraveling of our perfect lie. "You're putting so much effort into this anniversary," Kate said one evening, watching me check the restaurant details. "It's sweet." I looked up at her, studying her face. Did she feel any guilt? Any remorse? Or was she just worried about maintaining her image? The devoted wife, the successful professional, the woman who had it all. "Well, 19 years is special," I replied. "It deserves to be memorable." She smiled and kissed my cheek. I caught a whiff of her perfume. New, something I hadn't bought her. I added it to my mental file. Another gift from Rob, probably. Another piece of evidence. Another betrayal. Late that night, I finalized the seating arrangement. Kate's parents directly across from us. Her father, who'd toasted us at our wedding with tears in his eyes, would have the perfect view. Her mother, who still bragged about her daughter's perfect marriage, wouldn't miss a detail. Our closest friends arranged in a semicircle, witnesses to the culmination of 19 years of trust. The hotel footage was edited and ready on my phone. The credit card statements were organized chronologically. The GPS data from her fitness club check-ins was cross-referenced with her client meeting calendar. Each piece of evidence carefully curated, like exhibits in a museum of betrayal. I'd even practiced my timing in front of the mirror, the casual way I'd bring up the forgotten bag, the exact moment I'd reveal each piece of evidence, the precise words I'd use. Not angry, not emotional, just calm, factual, devastating. Let her try to explain it away. Let her scramble for excuses while the truth crushed her carefully constructed world. "Is everything okay?" Kate asked over dinner that night. "You seem different lately." I reached across the table and took her hand, feeling her wedding ring against my palm. "Everything's perfect," I said, and for the first time since finding the bag, I wasn't lying. Everything was perfect. Perfect for what was coming. 1 week to go, 7 days until our anniversary dinner, 7 days until I turned our celebration of love into a public execution of lies. I squeezed her hand and smiled, just looking forward to our special night. The day before our anniversary dinner, I got a text from Rob Grayson's wife, ex-wife actually. I'd reached out to her last week, engineer to engineer. She designs software systems. Turns out patterns of deception look the same in code and in life. "Thought you should know," her message read. It wasn't just Kate. There were others, always clients, always married. He likes the challenge. She'd attached screenshots of old text messages, emails, hotel receipts, a pattern spanning years. I added her evidence to my file, another weapon in my arsenal. Then I watched Kate get ready for work. applying her makeup with practiced precision. "Can't wait for tomorrow night," she said, blowing me a kiss as she left. "It's going to be perfect." Perfect. That word again. I walked through our house after she left, really looking at the life we'd built. Family photos on the walls, vacations, holidays, moments we'd thought were worth preserving. Kate's reading glasses on her nightstand, next to her dog-eared copy of Pride and Prejudice. Her coffee mug in the sink, lipstick stain on the rim. 19 years of memories, all tainted now. Every happy moment called into question. Every "I love you" a potential lie. How long had it been going on? How many client meetings were actually hotel rendezvous? How many times had she kissed me goodbye and driven straight to him? I spent the day finalizing details, confirmed with Giovanni's about the private room setup, checked that all 20 guests had RSVP'd, downloaded the hotel footage to a backup drive just in case, arranged and rearranged the evidence in perfect chronological order. My phone buzzed, a message from Kate. "Getting my hair done for tomorrow. Want to look perfect for our special night. Love you?" I stared at that heart emoji, remembering when those little symbols meant something real. Now they were just pixels on a screen, as fake as our marriage. That evening she was extra affectionate, cuddling close on the couch as we watched TV. "Remember our first anniversary?" she asked. "When you cooked dinner and nearly burned down the apartment?" I laughed, playing my part. "Good thing we're having professionals handle it tomorrow." She squeezed my hand. 19 years. Can you believe it? I looked at her in the soft lamplight, this woman I thought I knew better than myself. Her eyes sparkled with what looked like genuine happiness. Was any of it real? Had it ever been? "Time flies," I said, kissing her forehead. "Hey, don't forget we need to be at Giovanni's by 7. Everyone's arriving at 7:30. "I won't forget," she promised. "I've got a client meeting until 5, but I'll be home in plenty of time to get ready." A client meeting? I pulled out my phone, checked the hotel booking she didn't know I could see. Room 842, reserved from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Her last hurrah before our anniversary celebration. The final nail in her own coffin. Later, lying in bed, I listened to her breathing beside me. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, the perfect wife, the successful professional, the woman everyone admired, would be exposed for what she really was. Tomorrow, 19 years of lies would come crashing down in front of everyone who mattered. I set my alarm, double-checked that the evidence was ready, and closed my eyes. One last night of pretense. One last night of her thinking she was in control. Tomorrow, perfect would take on a whole new meaning. 7 o'clock at Giovanni's. I arrived early to check every detail. The private room looked perfect. White tablecloths, soft lighting, family photos I'd provided displayed on a side table. 19 years of memories arranged like exhibits in a museum. I'd chosen this room specifically for its layout. One long table, everyone facing each other. No escape routes, nowhere to hide. The maitre d' had even agreed to my special request. Kate's chair slightly angled, making sure everyone could see her face clearly. "Your wife just called," he told me. "Running a bit late. Said to start without her." I checked my phone, no messages from Kate, but the tracking app showed her leaving the Grand Plaza Hotel. Room 842, right on schedule. Her last secret rendezvous before her world collapsed. Guests started arriving at 7:30. Kate's parents first, her father hugging me tight, her mother gushing about how wonderful these 19 years had been. If they noticed my smile didn't quite reach my eyes, they didn't mention it. "Where's the star of the show?" Tom asked, arriving with Sarah. They'd been there the night Kate and I met, had watched our whole relationship unfold. Well, the public version of it anyway. "Running late," I said smoothly. "Client meeting." Sarah laughed. "Always working that one? You're so patient with her schedule." Patient. If they only knew. More guests arrived. My sister Rachel, Kate's college friends, Colleagues who'd attended our wedding. Each person who entered was another witness, another pair of eyes to see the truth unfold. I greeted them all warmly, played the perfect host, kept their wine glasses full. My phone buzzed. Kate, finally. So sorry. Traffic is awful. Be there in 15 minutes. Love you. I ordered champagne for everyone. We'll toast when she arrives, I announced. The room filled with cheerful chatter, everyone sharing stories about us, about our perfect marriage, our perfect life. I moved between guests, making sure everyone's phones were out and ready for photos. Got to document the night, I said. It's a special occasion. At 8:15, the door opened. Kate swept in, stunning in a new black dress I hadn't seen before, professional blowout, perfect makeup, that million-dollar smile. She worked the room like the advertising executive she was, hugging, laughing, apologizing for being late. Client meeting ran over, she explained to the room. You know how it is. I watched her perform, admiring her skill, the way she touched my arm apologetically, the perfect mix of guilt and charm in her voice. Oscar-worthy, really. Well, I said, raising my glass, now that everyone's here, why don't we start the celebrations? Kate beamed at me, completely unaware that her carefully constructed house of cards was about to come crashing down. The forgotten bag sat by my feet, heavy with evidence, waiting for its moment. I clinked my glass, calling for attention. Before we begin, I have a special presentation prepared, a little walk down memory lane. Kate's smile widened. She thought I'd made a photo montage, probably. In a way, I had. Just not the kind she was expecting. The room quieted, all eyes on me. The stage was set. The audience was ready. Time for the show to begin. 19 years, I began, standing at the head of the table. That's a lot of memories to sort through. A lot of moments worth preserving. I reached down and lifted the cream-colored Michael Kors bag into view. And sometimes the most important moments come when you least expect them. Kate's smile flickered for just a second, just enough to tell me she recognized the bag. Honey, she said, her voice perfectly controlled, what are you doing with my bag? Found it in the car last week, I said casually. You're always forgetting things there, but this time I'm glad you did, because it helped me put together tonight's presentation. The room was silent now, that heavy silence that comes before a storm. I could feel everyone watching, curious, unaware that they were about to become participants in their friend's public undoing. Let's start with last Thursday, I continued, pulling out the hotel receipt. The Grand Plaza Hotel. Interesting choice for a client meeting, don't you think? Especially since your actual client, Mrs. Henderson, was in Phoenix that day. I checked. Kate's face went perfectly still, the kind of stillness that comes from years of controlling narratives, managing perceptions. But I wasn't finished. 2 glasses of champagne, I read from the receipt. 2 desserts, 1 room, 842. Your favorite number, isn't it, Rob? The room erupted in whispers. Kate's mother gasped. Her father's face darkened. Michael, Kate started, but I held up my hand. No, please, let me finish. I've been rehearsing this for weeks. I pulled out my phone. Security footage is amazing these days, so clear, so undeniable. I played the first video, Kate and Rob entering the hotel, his hand on her lower back. The timestamp matched her client meeting from last week. That's not, Kate began, but her voice trailed off as I played the second video, and the third. 6 different dates, same hotel, same man. Rob Grayson, I announced to the room, owner of elite fitness clubs, Kate's personal trainer, let's say, though I doubt much training happened in room 842. Sarah covered her mouth with her hand. Tom stared at his plate. Rachel, my sister, reached for my arm, but I stepped away. Want to know the best part? I continued, my voice steady. His ex-wife sent me these. I held up my phone, showing screenshots of text messages. Turns out you weren't special, Kate. Just part of a pattern. Married clients are his specialty. Adds to the thrill, I guess. Kate's perfect composure cracked. "Michael, please," she whispered. "We can talk about this privately." "Private?" I laughed. "Like your private email account? Your private training sessions? Your private room at the Grand Plaza?" I turned to our guests. "Did you know she has a whole separate life? A whole calendar of lies?" I pulled out the key card from her bag. "Still works, by the way. I checked yesterday. Room 842 was booked again today, from 3 to 6 p.m. Another client meeting, right, Kate?" Her face went white. Today's meeting, her last secret before our anniversary dinner. The final nail in her coffin. "The champagne was probably still warm when you got dressed for our anniversary dinner," I said softly. "Did you even shower? Or did you come straight here, thinking no one would ever know?" Kate's father stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Her mother was crying silently. Our friend sat frozen, watching the destruction of 19 years of trust play out like a car crash in slow motion. "And this," I said, pulling out the silver-wrap box, "this was my favorite find. A Cartier bracelet. Quite expensive. But not for me, was it? No, this was for Rob. A little thank-you gift for all those personal training sessions." I placed the box in front of her. "Go ahead. Open it. Show everyone what true love looks like these days." The room held its breath. Kate stared at the box, tears finally breaking through her perfect makeup. "Michael," she whispered, "I can explain." I smiled, the same smile she'd given me every morning for 19 years. Empty, false, perfect. "No need," I said. "The evidence speaks for itself." The silence that followed was absolute, the kind of silence that comes after an explosion, when everyone's ears are still ringing with the impact. I remained standing, watching Kate's perfect world crumble around her in real time. Her father was the first to move. Without a word, he took off his glasses, wiped them slowly, deliberately, then stood up. "We're leaving," he said to his wife. The look he gave Kate wasn't anger. It was something worse. Disappointment. Complete and crushing. "Daddy," Kate started, but he held up his hand. The same gesture I'd used earlier to silence her. Like father, like son-in-law. At least for a few more days, until the divorce papers were filed. People started pushing back their chairs, murmuring awkward excuses. The perfect anniversary dinner was imploding exactly as I'd planned. Sarah hugged me tight, whispering, "I'm so sorry," in my ear. Tom couldn't even look at Kate as they left. Through it all, I stayed calm, collected, the engineer assessing a successful demolition. "How long?" Kate's mother asked suddenly, her voice breaking the uncomfortable shuffle of departing guests. "How long have you been with him?" Kate stared at the Cartier box in front of her, mascara tracking black lines down her cheeks. "Mom, please." "How long?" 7 months, I answered for her. "Based on the hotel records, though Rob's ex-wife says he usually keeps these things going for about a year, likes to end them before they get too messy. Good timing, actually. We caught it just before the expiration date." Rachel, my sister, was the last to leave. She'd always thought of Kate as the sister she never had. Now she just shook her head, gathering her purse. "I'll call you tomorrow," she told me. Not Kate. Never Kate again. Finally, it was just us. Husband and wife at their anniversary dinner, surrounded by empty chairs and half-full wine glasses. Evidence of her betrayal scattered across the pristine white tablecloth like confetti at a funeral. "You didn't have to do it like this," Kate said finally, her voice hollow. "You could have confronted me privately." I sat down across from her, pouring myself another glass of wine. "Like you kept things private? All those secret meetings, hidden emails, deleted messages?" I took a sip. "No, I don't think privacy was the right choice here." "I made a mistake," she whispered. "One mistake in 19 years. 7 months of mistakes, multiple hotel visits, countless lies. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. An engineer's job is all about precision, Kate, and the numbers don't lie, even when you do. She reached for her purse, probably running on autopilot, needing to escape, but I wasn't quite finished. "Oh, and Kate?" I pulled out one last piece of paper. "The divorce papers are already drawn up. My lawyer will contact yours tomorrow. Though you might want to wait before calling Rob for comfort, his ex-wife is planning to send this evidence to all your mutual clients. Apparently, she's not a fan of how he conducts business." Kate's face crumpled completely. Her career, her marriage, her reputation, all destroyed in one perfectly orchestrated evening. She stood up shakily, stumbling slightly in her heels. "Goodbye, Kate," I said softly. "Thanks for 19 years of whatever this was." She fled the room, leaving behind her forgotten bag. Again, but this time I had no interest in returning it. I sat there alone, surrounded by the wreckage of my marriage, feeling strangely light. Empty wine glasses caught the candlelight, casting strange shadows on the walls. Somewhere in the restaurant, I could hear other diners laughing, celebrating their own special occasions, unaware of the demolition that had just occurred in the private room. I raised my glass to no one in particular. "Happy anniversary," I whispered to the empty room. 3 months after our anniversary dinner, I sat in my new apartment overlooking the city, drinking coffee from a mug that had never touched Kate's lips. The divorce was final. My lawyer said it was one of the quickest he'd seen. When you have that much evidence, there's not much room for negotiation. The aftermath had been exactly what you'd expect. Kate moved out the night of the dinner, staying with her sister in Connecticut. Rob ghosted her completely. Apparently, the scandal had cost him some high-profile clients. His ex-wife made sure of that. Sometimes karma works in surprisingly efficient ways. I kept the house, but chose to sell it. Couldn't stand walking through rooms full of memories that now felt like elaborate stage sets. The realtor told me a young couple bought it, newly married, full of hopes and plans. I wished them better luck than I'd had. My sister Rachel came by often, bringing food and concern in equal measures. "You doing okay?" she'd ask, studying my face for signs of breakdown. But the strange thing was, I was doing better than okay. The weight of suspicion, the constant tension of playing along, it had all lifted. I could breathe again. Kate tried to reach out once, about a month after everything fell apart. A long email about mistakes and regrets, about how she'd lost herself somewhere along the way, how the thrill of secrecy had become addictive, like a drug she couldn't quit, how she'd convinced herself it wasn't really betrayal if she still loved me too. I never replied. Some equations don't need solving. The professional fallout was brutal, just as I'd planned. Word spread through our social circles, then through business networks. Kate's advertising firm put her on indefinite leave. Turns out clients get nervous when their account manager shows questionable judgment. Last I heard, she was looking for work in Boston, trying to rebuild where nobody knew our story. My friends tried to set me up on dates, but I wasn't ready. Not because I missed Kate, but because I was finally getting to know myself again. The man I was, without the weight of lies on his shoulders. The engineer who'd built a perfect trap, but was now more interested in building a new life. Tom and Sarah had me over for dinner regularly, careful never to mention Kate's name. One evening, Sarah asked if I regretted doing it so publicly. Wouldn't a private confrontation have been easier? Easier for who, I'd asked. For her? For the people who thought we were perfect, sometimes the truth needs witnesses. The cream-colored Michael Kors bag sat in my closet, still full of evidence I no longer needed. I'd thought about throwing it away, but kept it as a reminder, not of Kate or of the betrayal, but of how easy it is to miss what's right in front of you when you're determined to believe in perfection. My therapist, yes, I finally got one, said I needed to forgive to move forward. But she didn't understand. I had forgiven. I'd forgiven myself for not seeing the signs sooner, for believing in a perfect life that existed only in carefully curated moments, for thinking that love meant turning a blind eye to betrayal. One morning, I packed up the bag with all its damning contents and drove to the Grand Plaza Hotel, walked straight to the front desk, and handed it to the manager who'd helped me uncover the truth. "What should I do with this?" she asked, surprised to see me. "Whatever you want," I said. "I don't need it anymore." Walking out of that hotel, I felt lighter than I had in months. The fall air was crisp, carrying the promise of change. My phone buzzed. Rachel, checking in. "Want to grab lunch?" "Sure," I texted back, "but not Giovanni's." She sent back a laughing emoji. Some places you just don't need to revisit. I stopped at a coffee shop on my way to meet her, ordered my drink, and found a table by the window. The barista had written my name on the cup. No Mr. and Mrs., no shared orders, no pretense. Just my name, simple and true. 19 years is a long time to live someone else's version of perfect, but as I sat there, watching the city move around me, I realized something. Real life isn't perfect. It's messy and complicated, and sometimes it hurts like hell, but at least it's honest. And honest is better than perfect any day.